Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Natalia Agafonova. I'm a BIM manager and also head of BIM department. In our company, in Grad, I'm responsible for BIM development. And I'm here to share our experience of BIM communication with one of our clients, a construction company. We have 20 minutes. First, I will say a couple of words about our company and then share our experience with you. Ingrad project. Ingrad project. Wait a second. Now, that's right. Ingrad project. This is a Moscow-based design company. We do not have anything to do with Ingrad Group. It's just the same name. We've been more than 7 years on the market. We act as a general contractor for many construction companies in Moscow. Over a million square meters was built using our drawings. More than 60 people working in our company, 6 in BIM department. And I, as a manager, for 1 BIM programmer and 4 BIM coordinators. We improve our competencies by carrying out trainings, both in-house and outside the company. We have professional certificates, including issued by Autodesk Revit Professional. We understand how important it is to develop BIM technologies, both in-house and on the industry level. So we are committed to raising the awareness about BIM among developers, financiers, operational companies, and general contractors. We implement BIM in our company. And we're also constantly improving. We're not just using Revit software, but we use also C#, Visual, Programming, Navisworks, Dynamo, and Synchro software suite. Like I said before, we first started using BIM technologies in 2015, and we demonstrated the capabilities of BIM design to our client in 2016. Already then, we understood all pros and cons. Our client had a look at the model, said, "Wow, looks nice," and that's it. That was it. It didn't go any further than that. Fast forward a year, and we found ourselves in a situation when our client wanted to use BIM. They wanted to start implementing BIM in 2017, and they allocated people responsible for BIM implementation. Who do you think they were? They were IT guy and production technical engineer. Did they manage to do it? IT guy and production expert. Well, they tried, but it turns out that IT plus production doesn't equal BIM. So they decided to hire a BIM expert with the right competencies, with the design experience. So inside general contractor company, a dialogue appeared between designers and constructors, builders. And we, as designers, started receiving the requirements from our client. Our initial requirements were like this. The client said, "We want classifier in Revit, Let's start with construction parts. It wasn't a big problem. We managed to do everything rather quickly. Almost everything was okay. Walls were okay. Work codes were assigned correctly. But the client decided to make an extra step, a step further. And it turned out that its database had some discrepancies and some mistakes. And there wasn't any point in working using this database anymore. So any work using client's provided database stopped. Another requirement from the client was do 3D rebar in Revit. We can do this, and client wants to know the exact volumes of rebars and concrete. At this stage, some rebar works have already been carried out in 3D. Some structures were complex, some structures were standardized. It's labor intensive and it's very time consuming. The client also wanted to know exact volumes of concrete required. That was very important for them. But when the client compared the volumes according to the module that we provided, there were some discrepancies with the actual concrete volumes that we used on construction sites and signed off by certificates. Why? Turned out that within different structures of general contractors, people use different methodologies to calculate concrete volumes. We used capital. How do you model capital volumes? Well, first, you can either estimate the entire part of a certain concrete structure or just subsurface area or above ground. So the client started thinking how to elaborate a universal methodology, how to assess concretes. They eventually came up with a certain one universal set of requirements and one methodology for concrete estimation, and we started using this methodology. We used to do this manually. Each column, we had to adjust each column by hand, and it didn't make our designers happy, and I see why. So, eventually, we wrote a script that, using certain rules, just makes conjunction of a structure, and we have right volumes, right amounts. Another issue was with our real estate developer. They provided us with their element classifier. This classifier was handed over in Excel format with all the codes and digital numerical designations and TXT file that you can use as system tool for Revit. Again, everything was fine with construction elements. Classifier was classifying everything. Everything was fine. But when we started dealing with architectural elements, it became apparent that it's just impossible to use this classifier, because some elements we have to set user set parameters for some elements. Again, we identified the parameters, wrote a script, architecture, structural elements. Now everything is automatic. Our client gets a model from us, that is classified using certain codes and can review it in Navisworks and continue working with it. Currently, out of all the advantages of BIM modeling, all the capabilities that BIM technology provides, our clients uses, unfortunately, only about 15%. So the utilization rate of BIM capabilities is about 15%. This includes conflict detection, work control and certification, and in-place cast works. This table shows our assets that we develop together with our general contractor. And you see what BIM technologies and BIM tools were used in 2015, 2017, and are going to be used by 2020. Our general contractor now has learned how to work in Navisworks and other tools. For instance, we use Navisworks for coordination and collision detection, conflict detection. Nothing new about it. First thing that our colleagues learned how to estimate the volume of work, they did it in Revit. You can see it on 3D. You can see here some structural elements, and everything is color-coded. These are the names of the work teams, and these are the times. So they identified for themselves the elements that a certain team did and when they did it and signed off. These are the teams, different color codes for different teams. And this is the entire building complex, color-coded. Next stage for that our general contractor used for planning was Navisworks. I'm not going to show you timeline. What I'm going to show you are these 3D Lego blocks. The job for inside concreting was split into 2 weak parts. When we hand over our model, all our concrete structures, reinforced concrete, are assigned, they have a link to as-built documentation, and you can see what is done when and using what documentation. At a pilot project, we do the design work for our clients for 4D construction, and we do it in Synchro software. You can see the actual state. Oops. What did I do? No, I'm not done. I have something else to say. So the actual work is done like this. There is online live feed, and there is also virtual modeling in Synchro for construction to have reporting capabilities, have finance utilization. Another aspect how BIM is used by our general contractor on site is facades, to design facades. We as designers do not provide as-built documentation for facade subsystems. we have detailed job assignment, and then we hand over all the information to our subcontractors. So our model is then sent to, well, handed over to subcontractor, and you can see the layout of subsystems here. So after almost 2 years now, it's been 2 years since BIM technologies began in our company. BIM technologies are developing. Our client now, like I said, they used to have just one person responsible for BIM. Now they have 4. They have ambitious plans. They are now thinking about laser scanning, casing, using BIM models, and other works as well. To sum up, I can say that the most challenging part was to start the implementation process. Even though our colleagues didn't fully realize what they needed, and they needed most simple tools, just to check that the concrete that was actually poured corresponds to the the estimated volume of concrete, for instance. It's important to start developing from simple things to more complicated things, and I urge you to develop, to move, and to be better. It's the first step that is the hardest. Thank you.